In today's episode, I saw a map of how far your money goes in different states, depending on where you choose to live in the country. And some of it would be obvious to you. Hawaii is the most expensive place in the United States to live. But a lot of the things are not so obvious. I want to share some of this data to you. If you're somebody who has itchy feet and you're trying to figure out where's the most affordable place to live, I got the data for you. And later, there's a trend in the country called unretiring. Yeah, unretiring. I want to tell you what it's about and what are the implications for us as a country, and particularly younger workers too. So I don't know if you've ever looked at visualcapitalist.com. They do wonderful research about various economics things and then distill them down into very simple charts, or in this case, a map of the United States. And they have taken data on, and specifically they were looking at, like, how long would your money last in retirement? And so it's a scale that shows, in this case, they took a theoretical amount of money and said how long your money, including Social Security, would allow you to live a typical lifestyle in that state. How many years could you? And as I told you in the lead, that Hawaii is where your money goes the least far of any state. Everything's got to be brought in. They're islands, limited land, everything, housing, food, supplies are all so expensive. But when you look at the rest of the United States, the mainland United States, there are such stark differences from place to place. Like the most affordable place in the United States where your money goes the furthest is in the state of West Virginia, which the reason that's interesting is that right next door in Virginia, it's a really expensive state to live in. I mean, Virginia is as expensive as living in Florida, which, by the way, is, to me, an interesting thing. Florida, your money doesn't go very far anymore. Florida used to be not only the Sunshine State, but it was an affordable state to live in. A lot of people who moved to Florida are now leaving Florida because the cost of living in Florida, even though there's no income tax, has gone up so much that people are leaving the state of Florida. And a lot of them are becoming what are known as halfbacks. What's a halfback? Halfbacks are referred to as people who moved to the Carolinas or Tennessee or Georgia, who maybe came from the Midwest or the Northeast, and they went to Florida, and then they're like, well, can't quite dig this, but don't want to go back to where it was really cold. And money goes much further in the Carolinas, in Tennessee, and Georgia. And by the way, Tennessee has no state income tax like Florida. And by comparison, Texas, which has no state income tax, your money goes much further than it does in Florida. But when you look at the mainland U.S., you want to see where your money doesn't go anywhere? California and Massachusetts. Very, 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 very expensive to live in. Why? Interestingly enough, not because of taxes, which you'd assume, but from my digging, even though taxes are high in Massachusetts and they're moderately high in California, unless you're really rich, and then they're really, really high in California, it's housing costs. And you look state after state, the big thing that makes a state unaffordable, Oregon, Washington, less expensive than California, but very expensive, again, because of housing costs. New York, crazy expensive because of housing costs, and to a lesser extent, taxes. Affordable places to live? How about moving to, in addition to West Virginia and Mississippi, which are by far the cheapest, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Kentucky, Those are the real bargain states, although you may not want to live in them. Because part of life is about lifestyle, part is about cost. But this chart that you'll be able to link to from our notes and see the map of the 50 states and where it's more affordable to live, where it's more expensive to live. I mean, some of these that are more affordable, I would not have expected. Michigan and Ohio. I would have assumed, that's why you never want to assume, right? That they would be more expensive places to live, but they're more affordable. So within a region of the country, there are big differences in cost of living from one state to another in the same region.
All right.
Where would you move if you could move anywhere in the United States and it was not involving cost?
Oh, that's a hard one. I would say Hawaii because I love Hawaii, but it is really far from everyone that I love. So I don't know. But yeah, that's the most expensive place for a reason because it's paradise and you have to import everything like you said.
Do I love Hawaii?
Oh, it's the best.
Coming up ahead, when are you too old to work? When should you bag it? And this thing of people unretiring that has become a real trend ever since we had the inflationary cycle. We're going to talk that through. People look at work so differently one to another. And when I talk to people in the financial industry about, who work with clients, and my friend Jonathan Clements and I have talked about this whole thing, that there are people who love what they do, love work, and can't imagine not working. I fit in that category. I love working. When I don't love working anymore, I have the great privilege of having enough money that I won't have to work. I choose to work and look forward to it. And there are people who can't stand their job, can't stand it, and count every single day till they can bag work. They might have a countdown clock on their phone, counting down till they're done. Who knows? They hate work, and they want out the door. And so people have all different motivations. There are people who can't wait to retire, do so, and then find they're bored to death. And they'll maybe go back to work part-time. But the biggest thing that's happened in recent times is people are going back to work because they gotta. That they thought they were set financially, got into retirement and realized, I don't have enough money. I can't pay my bills. I can't do anything because I don't have enough money. And I saw a Kiplinger item that the number of people who were retired going back to work is an all-time record percent. We had the inflationary cycle, but also people live longer typically than they expect. And you got to make that money last a long, long time. So my thing is phasing out of work. I think that's a really important thing to do because a lot of people look at it as all or nothing. That's the mistake that I think people make. It's too much a shock to most people's system, forgetting money for a second, to go from working, that's what you do 5 days a week, to not working at all. A lot of people just can't handle that because there's not enough. You may have decided, I'm going to fish all the time, or I'm going to play golf, or I'm going to do this, that, or the other. And it's not enough to fill your days. And you get bored. And you may even find yourself boring at that point. So work part-time keeps people engaged. If you take early Social Security, age 62, which so many people do. It's an argument for a different day why I like people to wait till age 70. But if you have taken it really early and you're like, hey, that's not enough money for me to live on, or I don't have enough to do, you can do some amount of work, part-time work, and not get punished for earning that money. There's a limit that you can earn. And be involved, be active in some way. It's just a strong belief that I have that people look at this as a light switch. Today I work full-time, tomorrow I work not at all. And it doesn't work for most of us. You got to think about both of those things. The need for money and the need for purpose, meaning, routine, activity, whatever it is.